what are realistic ambitions? Mine for the season we're sort of mid-table-ish, and I'll still be amazed if we get anywhere near the top seven. But it's, as I said before, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. The division is relatively tight. I think we're sort of 6 or 7 points off the top seven. We know that we've got players coming back. We know that we're on a half decent little run at the moment. There's nothing to say that we won't be able to climb the table, but yeah, we've got to take confidence from. We've had a good little run in the league. We also had the EFL Trophy win, which I know is a win is a win at the end of the day. And we're back at home this Saturday, where we should always, being at home, we should always be relatively confident. MK Dons are clearly going to pose a bigger challenge than Cheltenham, and a different type of challenge, I would say. But that's not to say that we can't get a result. But yeah, lots of games to play, and in a month or two's time, we could conceivably quite easily be in the top 10. With a bit of optimism.
Well, it is just four wins, from the last 11. But annoyingly, two of those wins have come in the EFL Trophy against Barrow and against Blackpool, both by a 2-1 scoreline, beating Bristol Rovers and Cheltenham in the league. But 4 wins from 11 also means only 3 defeats during that period, of which 2 were to Stockport, who at the time were top of League One, and Swindon, who are currently top of League Two. The other was that insipid home performance against Barnet. There've been too many draws. That's clear. Draws against Cambridge, Bromley, Chesterfield, and Accrington over that 11-game period. But I do wonder if sometimes we're looking at that run of form and thinking maybe things have been worse than they actually are. They're clearly a team that's very tough to beat now, despite not having their best 11 available, as you've already mentioned, with O'Connor, McGee, whoever else not being around at the moment. It's just getting those results over the line that has proved tricky at times.
Yeah, you make a good point, actually, and I think Crosby's alluded to it in some of his pre-match press conferences that I think we've lost, say, 4 or 5 in the league this season, and he said that I think that 4 of them were against teams in the top 5 or something like that. Anyway, I can't remember the exact statistic, but you know, so losing games to the strongest teams in the division, and as you say, to the likes of Stockport, is perhaps not a surprise. It's more the frustration comes from those draws that you mentioned against your Bromleys and your Cambridges and Accrington away. Which, to be fair, we probably didn't deserve more than a draw. I was at that game. First half, we were poor, and they missed a penalty in the second half. So we are where we are, but it depends how you look at it with the draws, isn't it? You could look at it and say, well, if we'd scored a single extra goal in, say, 3 of those games, we'd be 6 points better off. We would have had 9 points instead of 3. And whereas if your glass half empty, you might say, well, we just conceded 1 more goal. If Accrington had scored that penalty, or if in other games, then it could have gone the other way, of course. So fine margins, as managers will always say. But we are where we are. But it is. I would take the positive that we're not losing too many games. I think we've actually lost the same as Salford, who I think are in the top 7. So we're not losing too many games. And if you look at the positive side of it, you say, well, teams are finding us. There's exceptions, of course, but teams are finding us hard to beat overall. So we hopefully we're getting that part of it okay. Although we have still conceded a lot, we just need just a little bit more just to start turning some of those games into wins. And before you know it, we could be climbing the table. So it's just frustrating. And I think the irony is all our old boys at Oldham under Mickey, I think they're having a similar season. I think they've not lost many at all, but I don't think they've won many either. I think they've drawn quite a few as well. So it is frustrating but you could look at it either way, couldn't you? But it is I think you're right. I think there is an element with football fans in general that you, not everybody, but the majority probably kind of look at the negative, and I'm guilty of that sometimes. But it does show that we're not a million miles away, I guess, from being a team that could be in the top half of the table, just with a few tweaks here and there. Um, bit of confidence, bit of momentum, and yeah, we could conceivably start climbing the table.